My aunt stole my fiancé for her daughter, but now they're all crying because I took the trust fund, and they've realized my ex was a bum. I'm 28, and I was engaged to Ron, 27, for a year. We met in college, were friends but not very close, and started dating after college. We had been together for 4 years. Last year, we got engaged and had a small ceremony with close family and friends. My aunt was also invited, and after attending my engagement, she became captivated by his charm and kept praising how handsome and wealthy he was. It was unusual because she had never been so affectionate with me before. Her daughter, Lucia, 24, is extremely beautiful, but as dumb as a rock. My aunt always compared us in every way. I was good at academics, but even though she was 4 years younger than me, my aunt compared our grades and always found a way to declare Lucia better than me. The joke is that Lucia couldn't pass high school. Ron and I were planning our wedding for October because I had to visit the UK for a summer program. Everything was going well between us when I left in June. We talked once a day due to the time difference. 2 weeks after I started the program, we began to drift apart. I asked him what was going on, but he didn't give me a clear answer, just that he was stressed about work. I thought the distance had affected our feelings but didn't take it seriously because it wasn't a new relationship. I planned to resolve the issue after returning. A week before my program ended, he stopped talking to me. I felt so childish wanting to resolve it, but he chose the easiest way out and vanished. I've always had a lot of pride, and though it hurt, I don't chase after anyone. I stayed in my illusionary world, thinking he would come after me, but he didn't. Instead, my aunt showed up at my house with a wedding invitation. Ron was marrying my cousin, Lucia. I was in shock, wondering how he could fall for someone who could barely pay for her meals. My aunt provided the answer. Maybe he couldn't handle the distance. Don't be mad at your cousin. Ron was the one who sought Lucia out for coffee. You know how beautiful my princess is. You can't blame Ron for falling for her. I looked at her with red, tear-filled eyes. Normally, I don't tolerate my aunt and interrupt her, but this time I was so shocked that I couldn't say a word. I just stared at her and accepted her cruel, sweetened insults. She continued, "Believe me, dear, I love you as much as I love Lucia. I screamed when she told me about Ron, but he came to my house and politely confessed his deep love for Lucia. You know how humble and sweet he is." Tears rolled down my cheeks as I imagined Ron doing everything she described. She tried to hug me, but I blocked her. I wiped my tears, composed myself, and said I had something to attend to, asking her to leave. She added, "If you're thinking of contacting Ron, don't. I blocked you myself. It's not proper for my son-in-law to be in contact with his ex, you know." I told her, "Screw you and your son-in-law. I have much more to do in life than chase after other people's men." She got up and said, "Don't be discouraged, my dear. I understand it will be difficult for you to find another man at your age and with your looks. But don't worry, there are many divorced men looking for a second chance at love. I'm sure you'll find a man like that." I screamed, "Get out!" I deeply regretted losing my composure and giving her the satisfaction of seeing my vulnerability, but it's okay. We all have weak moments in life when we simply can't stand firm. This news was much more painful than I ever imagined. I'm not saying it would have been easy if he had cheated with any other woman, but it would have been much better than this. I would have cut him off and been sure never to see him again. But now, who knows? My aunt might show up any time to rub her daughter's prize in my face. Everyone in my friends and family knew about Ron and me. Now I feel stupid for having such a grand engagement. Now that he's marrying Lucia, the story is evident to everyone about what happened in the background. My aunt has been weaving a different story, claiming that Ron found solace in Lucia because I was too stubborn and egocentric. She claims Ron didn't want me to go to the summer program in the UK, yet I went and stopped talking to him. She even said Ron suspected I was involved with someone in the UK. He heard a guy's voice in the background every time he called me and things like that. I haven't been in contact with most of my relatives since I moved out. Even as a teenager, I was distant from them because I didn't like their trivial conversations. Therefore, it was easier for my aunt to sell her lies. I feel so terrible. I know all this is for the best. I got rid of the cheater. There's light at the end of the tunnel, but you know what? When you're in the middle of a dark phase, it's simply impossible to navigate through it, even though you know everything will be fine after a while. Update 1. Thanks for cheering me up on my original post. I've been thinking about updating for a long time, and now that I no longer feel anything for my ex, here we are. That dark phase was long and hard, but things did get better, and there's even a cherry on top. Wait for it. After Ron left, I felt sick. Every place reminded me of him, so I decided to leave the city. I applied for jobs in the UK and got a promising one in Leeds. Moving away made me feel reborn, and I was surprised at how quickly I got over it. Things took a turn a few days ago when my mom called and asked if Ron was unemployed. He had quit his job a year ago to pursue writing. Ron wanted to be a writer, and I had supported him financially while he built his career. We had an agreement where I'd work full-time while he laid the foundation for our business, but he blew it. My mom laughed when I told her this. She said my aunt had visited her, screaming, "Why didn't you tell me Ron was a bum?" My mom was confused because she thought he was well off. My aunt revealed that Ron had insisted Lucia take an accelerated course to get a better-paying job so she could cover their household expenses. But Lucia, who's working part-time as a receptionist, isn't making enough for both of them. It may sound harsh, but I can't help but feel some satisfaction. There's another layer to this story. My aunt was the mistress of Lucia's dad, and when he died, his legal wife kicked them out. That's why they were living with my grandparents. Lucia never liked to work, and she failed high school twice before dropping out. Her receptionist job was thanks to my uncle's recommendation. So if you think poetic justice has been served, it hasn't. After mourning, I decided to act. Ron and I had a trust fund for our future business. I had full access to it because I managed our finances, and I liquidated it when I found out about his infidelity. He has no idea that the fund no longer exists. He still thinks he'll get his share once I calm down, but he's delusional. If you think I'm a scammer, I'm not. I spent an equivalent amount of money on Ron during his bad days, supporting him financially. If we had married, he would have received alimony. This trust fund was the closest thing because we were almost married. Update 2. This Christmas has been lovely. I had the satisfaction of seeing the disappointment on my ex's face. I was at my mom's house when he came knocking, asking for the trust fund money. He claimed he needed it because he was broke, had no job, and couldn't pay rent. I told him I had liquidated the trust fund, and he went crazy. He threatened to sue me for his share, but I reminded him of the money I gave him for monthly expenses. I told him he was delusional to think he could get anything from me. He left angry and bitter. If that wasn't enough, my aunt and Lucia showed up at my parents' house, demanding the trust fund money. Lucia was desperate because they were facing eviction. My dad intervened, telling them to leave and that he regretted not standing up for me sooner. He also laughed at my aunt for seducing Ron for Lucia and now blaming me for their problems. Lucia broke down saying Ron had ruined her life. I couldn't resist one last dig, telling them there were plenty of sugar daddies waiting for girls like Lucia. It was petty, but after everything they put me through, I didn't care. Update 3. Ron emailed me, admitting he had ruined everything. He's struggling financially, and his landlord has given him notice to vacate. My aunt and grandparents refused to let him stay with them. Ron also found out that Lucia had lied about her education and job, making him realize the mess he'd gotten into. He's looking for a job in his previous field, but I have no sympathy for him. He's a cheater, and I don't regret liquidating the trust fund. He made his choice, and now he has to live with the consequences. Update 4. Life is good, much better than when this all started. It's been 2 years since everything blew up, and there's a big difference between my life and those involved. I'm still in Leeds, and everything is going well. I've even met someone new. Ron, on the other hand, is miserable in his new job, constantly complaining that he lost his dream job because of me. I'm not a good person, and I'm happy to see him suffer. My grandparents finally kicked out my aunt and Lucia. They got tired of the drama and asked them to leave. Now they're renting together, struggling to make ends meet. If I were them, I'd start looking for a new boyfriend quickly. because Lucia isn't getting any younger, and her intelligence isn't improving either. I know I'm being harsh, but that's karma. In the end, I think I've told you the most important things.